You're losing. Try again. You are losing. Or as Alan Sugar would do, you're losing. That was the warning from JPMorgan CEO Jamie Dimon. Yeah, he had for Europe as he lamented its lack of competitiveness in comparison to the US and China. Dimon, speaking in Dublin, said Europe needs to follow recommendations set out in Draghi's report on EU competitiveness last year, adding that basically everything should be a single market. I've had a bit of pushback from one of our viewers saying, well, actually, if he's looking at it in pure currency terms, and actually Europe has gained a bit more competitiveness if you look at the fall of the dollar, rise of the euro this year, so to speak. But I had, and another commentator was saying, look, I have a lot of sympathy for what Dimon is saying, but he's been wrong about a lot of his bear case scenarios. So I get it, there is pushback. Equally so, you and I are on the same page, albeit you're have a European passport and I have a British passport. And the fact of the matter is, we want to see a better, more efficient Europe. And I've got to say, I'm worried.
Yeah, I understand your concerns. But I have to say, the comments from Jamie Dimon, they are strong, but they're not new. This is not breaking news for European officials. They're very aware about this.
They know they're not competitive.
They know they're not competitive. They've heard that from Mario Draghi. Do you want to hear that from even more important person, perhaps, for European politics than Mario Draghi?
When someone else is telling you.
But the problem is the lack of action.
Oh,
right?
Still?
I mean,
no,
yes,
hang
where
on.
do you see
when
it?
did this new commission come in?
This
year ago, isn't it? No,
it was going to be a year in October.
Oh, hang on, but they appointed a lot of the commissioners over the new year, didn't they? Didn't they?
No, so this is the second term of von der Leyen. So she has been around for a very long time.
Yeah, but the new commission.
The new commission was late last year.
Okay, yeah. So they've had plenty of time to get their feet under the desk. What are they doing?
They would say...
You are more in tune than anyone at CNBC of what's going on in Brussels.
They would say that they are doing more, for instance, when it comes to defense. And they are doing more when it comes to...
That's only because the president... That's only because... That's nothing to do with what the Europeans wanted it. Well,
we've talked about this before, and to some extent it is frustrating, but it's always the same argument. You only see concrete action from the European Union when there's a lot of pressure, and the pressure affects the 27 in a relatively similar way.
You only see concrete action from the European Union when there's a crisis. We are in a crisis. Do they realise we're in a crisis?
They do realise that there's a crisis. At least we have noticed, and you're not going to be happy with what I'm going to say, but we have noticed a different narrative. We have seen them trying to address competitiveness. It is perhaps one of the most important points in this second term for von der Leyen. But ultimately, we're still lacking to see a lot of concrete deliverables. If you ask the corporate world, and we get to hear from them a lot, they will still say we are not seeing enough action from Brussels.
If you had to say one leader was the biggest pain in the neck for Brussels in Europe, who is it?
For the institutions, I would have to say, and I think it's quite obvious, it's Viktor Orban.
Viktor Orban. So, yeah. I'm glad you said that, because that's part of my anecdote. So here I was at NATO in The Hague a couple of weeks ago, and I was getting a couple of questions in. It went moderately well, I'd say.
Totally. I love watching you doing that, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Totally.
Yeah, it was an art, rather than science. And I said, Mr. Orban, is Mr. Putin the biggest threat to Europe? And he looked at me. He said, no. EU competitiveness, lack of competitiveness is the biggest threat to Europe. And I've got to say, I understand where he's coming from.
And I asked Viktor Orban 24 hours later, are you optimistic that we're going to see a trade deal with the Americans? And he said no, because the European institutions, the European negotiators are too weak.
No, he pretty much said they've got the great negotiators. They've got
narrative.
Trump, and I bet Šefčovič hated that.
I mean, obviously, there's the frictions there. But still, when it comes to EU-US trade, we still have to wait for that detail. Ultimately, I think it remains to be seen what will be the level of tariffs for the European Union.
Which brings us in where we got to. We're waiting for our naughty or nice letter.
We are, and what sectors will get exemptions. Because ultimately, the EU, they're quiet, but they could actually be in a position to secure something for the EU. They're trying to leverage the fact that they have the single market in these conversations with the Americans. So the judge is still out in terms of understanding where the European Commission, if their negotiators are weak or not.